Hello, this is Pavel, and this is today's weekend operating brief, where I take AI and technology news and I look at what it changes for service companies. The pattern today is the company gets more capable, but also more technical. Well, let's start. The first signal is from PwC, and I think it cuts against a simple story people keep telling about AI and jobs. PwC's global chairman, Mohamed Kande, made a point that I think worth sitting with. He said companies adopting AI at scale are not simply cutting people, they are increasing the number of people they need because they are embracing AI. And PwC AI job barometer points in the same direction. The companies most exposed to AI are growing headcount and wages faster than the companies least exposed to AI. That's a very important signal. The simple story is AI comes in, people go out. And I do not think that this is the real pattern. The real pattern is AI comes in, the work changes level. The low level work gets compressed, the repetitive work gets automated. The basic analysis gets cheaper, but the company needs more people who can design, connect, validate, interpret, operate, and improve the systems. This is why the work does not become easier, it becomes more technical. For a service company, this is the key point. AI will not turn the company into a smaller version of the old company. It will push the company to become a different kind of company. More automated? Yes. But also more dependent on data, integrations, permissions, architecture, monitoring, recovery, and technical judgment. So when people say AI will replace people, I think the better question is replace which work and create what new work about it. Because someone still has to own the system. Someone has to decide how to connect AI to the workflow. Someone has to know when the output is wrong. Someone has to build an operating layer around it. That's why I keep saying the service company is becoming a technology company. Not because everyone becomes a programmer, because the company now needs technical judgment inside the way it runs. AI does not remove the need for people, it moves the valuable work up toward judgment, architecture, and ownership. The next signal is from voice AI, but the point is bigger than the voice. Retell's new feature sets an interesting because it shows where AI agents are really going. The news is not only that the voice sounds better, that is the surface. Real news is the infrastructure around the voice. CRM sync with Salesforce or HubSpot, real time contact updates, live call monitoring, call scoring, human takeover, custom dashboards, post call analysis, escalation rules. This is not a chatbot anymore. This is an operating infrastructure. And this is exactly the direction service companies are moving. A customer call, not just a call, it connects to the customer record, the previous promise, the schedule, the invoice, the service history, the complaint, the technician, the SLA, the follow ups. So when people ask, can AI answer the phone? I think this is the wrong question. Of course, it can answer. The technical question is what does it know? What it allows to touch? When does it escalate? Who can monitor it live? What does it write back? And how do we prove that what exactly happened? And this is where the real work is. The service company that treats a voice agent like a talking script will get a toy. The service company that connects to a memory, permissions, monitoring, and escalation start building a technology company. That's the shift. The voice is visible part. The operating system behind the voice is the company building part. The future is not human versus AI in a call center. It's agent, supervisor, memory, escalation, and a proof designed as one system. Another entry point is the cost pressure around models. I keep coming back to this idea. The model become replaceable, not irrelevant, but replaceable. And that is important distinctions. Models are still extremely important. But as they get cheaper, an open source model improve, as routing gets better, and the company starts watching token cost more carefully, the model becomes a component in the larger system. It becomes more like an engine. You still need an engine, but advantage is not only the engine. It is the whole vehicle around this, the frame, the transmission, the dashboard, the controls, the maintenance, the driver, the purpose. This is where I think a lot of AI discussion goes wrong. People say the model is getting cheaper, so technology becomes easier. I think it's opposite. The model getting cheaper means more part of the company can become technical. More workflows can be automated, more decisions can be supported by AI, more customer interactions can run through the systems. So the surface gets cheaper, but the architecture becomes more important. Which model do we use for which task? What data goes into what stays private, what gets cached, what gets logged, what happened when the model changes? Can we switch vendors without rebuilding the workflow? Those are technical questions, and the service company will have to answer them because the change is not optional. AI is moving into operating layer. The company can swap models while keeping its own context, memory, rules, and workflows intact is a much stronger position than the company that is glued to one vendor. I had a conversation recently around a question that keeps coming back. If AI lets everyone build, do we really need technical people in the middle? The idea that everyone can build their own applications now is partly true. AI makes building faster. It makes prototypes cheaper and lets business users create things that they could not create before. That part is real, and I think it is exciting. But there is a part that people miss. When everyone can build, design judgment become more important, no less. In my experience, when business users involved in building systems, they often want to recreate the spreadsheet they already had, just with the database behind it. Not because they're not smart, they know the work they do. But knowing the work and designing the systems are two different skills. And the business person sees the local problem. The technical designer has to see the whole system: data, integration, permissions, handoffs, future maintenance, failure models, reporting, and what happened when the 10 departments each build their own version of the truth. Think about a car company, for example, BMW. If manufacturing becomes almost free, are you going to tell every one person in the line, feel free to add whatever feature you feel will benefit to the car? We still need a chief designer. Actually, we need the role more because now adding the feature is easier. That's what AI is doing to software. It is making building easier, so the risk move into the bad design, bad integration, duplicated data, and dozens of small tools that nobody can maintain. So my position is not do not let business people build. The opposite. Let them build, use the energy, let them prototype, let them express what they need, but keep technical design authority in the system. Someone has to decide what becomes part of the company, what stays a prototype, what connects to real data, and what should never be allowed into production. AI makes building cheaper. It does not eliminate the chief designer. It makes the chief designer more important. Cost is another place where AI becomes more technical, no less. AI cost is starting to move from a simple subscription question into an engineering question. At first, it feels simple. You buy a few seats, people use the tool, the expense feels capped. But as AI moves into workflows, the cost changes shape. Now, every call, every prompt, every document, every agent run, every retrieval step, every image, every voice interaction, every evaluation has a cost. That does not mean do not use AI. It means AI cost becomes something you engineer. You choose the right model for the task. You choose when to use the expensive model and when a cheap model is enough. You decide what context is necessary, in what context only makes the call slower and more expensive. You cache what can be cached. You shorten what can be shortened. You route simply work to simple systems and reserve the heavy models to the work that deserves them. It's not finance cleaning up the bill after the fact. It is the architecture. It's like cloud cost. At the beginning, people think cloud will just someone else's server. Then the bills arrive, and suddenly architecture matters. Storage, compute, network, login, scaling, idle resources. AI will go through the same thing. Service company will not stop using AI because it costs money. They will use more of it. But the winners will learn how to engineer the cost of intelligence into the operating system. Cheaper AI does not remove the need for technical judgment. It creates more places where technical judgment saves money and improves quality at the same time. A lot of AI product news is suddenly about memory, and I don't think that is accidental. A lot of AI products are starting to talk about memory now: agents memory, CRM memory, conversation history, company knowledge, context window retrieval, long term memory. The words vary, but the direction is the same. AI becomes much more valuable than it can work from the company's own context. For a service company, this is huge. The company already has memory, but it is usually scattered. Some of it is in CRM, some in email, some in the ticket system, some in spreadsheets, and some in people's head. Some of it disappears when someone leaves. AI forces the issue. If you want agents to help with customer service, scheduling, billing, claims, sales follow up, or management reporting, they need access to the right memory. Not all memory, the right memory. Current, permissioned, structured enough to use and tied to the work. This is where the technical transformation becomes very practical. The company has to decide what it knows, where the knowledge lives, who is allowed to use it, how it's get updated, and how AI can safely read from it and write back to it. That's not a prompt problem. That is architecture. And this is the one of the reasons the service company become a technology company. The memory layer becomes part of how service is delivered. The model is rented, but the company memory is owned, and you have to build the part that compounds. Well, another technical signal is connector authorization, the permission layer around what AI is allowed to touch. Anthropic adding centralized authorization for MCP connectors is the kind of product news that sounds technical and boring, but is actually a very big signal. The market is moving from what the model can do to what the model allowed to connect to. This is the real enterprise question. Can AI read the CRM? Can it read contracts? Can it create a ticket? Can it update a record? Can it send an email? Can it pull financial data? Can it act as one user Or does it need to task-specific access? And who approves them? This is where AI becomes more than a chat window. The moment AI can use tools and connectors, permissions become product design. And a service company that matters immediately. An AI assistant that can summarize customer history in one thing. An AI agent that can update a customer record, send a message, change a schedule, or trigger a refund, a different thing. That does not mean you avoid it. That means you design it. And you give the agent the smallest useful authority, you log what it does. You make escalation clear. You make revoking access easy. You separate reading from writing. You separate recommending from acting. This is technical work, but it's translated directly into business trust. If the company cannot control what AI can touch, it cannot confidently let AI do more. The next wave of AI is not only about smarter models, it's about site authority. What AI can touch, under what permissions, and with what evidence. And a question I keep hearing is some version of it: if AI makes everything faster, does it make the company easier to run? AI makes many things faster. That's an opportunity. You can draft faster, you can build faster, you analyze faster, route faster, answer, prototype. But when a company moves faster, through weak systems, mistakes are moved faster. This is why I do not buy the idea that AI makes the business easier. It makes the business more powerful, and there's a difference. And the more powerful engine does not make driving less important. It makes control more important. Same things here. If a manual process has a bad handoff, AI can make the handoff happen in 100 times faster. If customer data is wrong, AI can spread that word data into more decisions. If permissions are loose, AI can act through those loose permissions at the machine speed. If every department builds its own little tool, AI can multiply the integration problem. So the message is not slow down. The message is the faster the company moves, the more it needs technical structure, architecture, data ownership, integration, observability, recovery, permissions, evaluation. These words sound technical because they are technical. But this is exactly why the service company needs technical leadership as it becomes a technology company, not to block the change, to make the speed usable. So, in summary, AIs give the company a bigger engine. So the technical work is steering, brakes, dashboard, and roadmap. I think we're good for today's brief. It is a weekend. Let's enjoy our summer weekend, and I will talk to you soon.